Hello, and welcome to my tutorial on my process for making replica animation cells. This technique mimics the look of hand-painted animation cells, but uses more commonly sourced materials. I specifically developed this technique because I didn't want to draw the line art by hand on the cell with ink. I prefer doing digital line work. So with this hybrid technique, you can create a digital image, print the line art on the acetate sheet, and paint the final colors for a very professional and authentic look. Real animation cells are painted with cell paint, which is nearly impossible to source these days, as handmade animation cells are rarely made anymore. My process uses heavy body acrylic paint. Golden is my preferred brand because I find it to be the most opaque. Let's go over the materials you'll need. You'll need inkjet transparency film, make sure it's 100% transparent, printable, and inkjet compatible. You'll need a respirator mask, some acrylic sealer. I use Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Gloss Clear, but any that is clear and acrylic will do. An assortment of acrylic paint and brushes, and a palette knife to mix your custom colors. And if you're making a custom animated cell, you'll need some reference material to draw it and your preferred digital art program to create it. And of course, an inkjet printer to print your line art on the cell. Here I'm sketching out the concept for the cell I want to make. It's a gift from my wife of her favorite character from Sailor Moon, holding our dearly departed dachshund Zeke. You can see I have a couple references open to try to keep within the classic Sailor Moon anime style. Once I finish the sketch, I draw the finished line work on a separate layer, and this next part is optional, but I find it very helpful to make a full-color digital mock-up of the final cell, because this will be useful soon for matching colors and to double-check as you paint. If you're just recreating a regular anime screenshot, you can just refer to that. This next part is a tip specifically for anyone using Clip Studio Paint. A little life hack that'll make the next steps a lot easier. Once you have your colored mockup, you can go to Filter, Effect, Artistic. This menu will pop up and you're going to select Lines Only. Fiddle with the options until you get a nice outline of all the colors. If you print this out and use it underneath your cell as a coloring guide, it's very easy to see where to paint your shadows and highlights. Next, you need to print out two things: the black line art on your transparency film, and make sure you print it on the correct side, and your color guide on normal paper. I forgot to add this while I was recording, but make sure you flip your image horizontally before you print it. The cell will be viewed from the opposite side that you're painting on. Okay, now I'll meet you on the patio to do some spray painting. Time to give this baby a few coats of acrylic sealer. Make sure you've got your mask on or your lungs will be very sad. Then you'll want to wait at least an hour and give it at least one more coat. This is super important because if you don't seal the transparent glue on this side of the sheet that the ink was printed on, it'll cause your paint to crack. And I've learned through painful trial and error that you need at least a minimum of 2 coats of this sealer to prevent utter tragedy.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
And now you're ready for the best part, painting! As I made multiple cells, I realized that there were specific custom colors that I ended up using pretty often. If you're painting characters with, say, a specific teal hair color with specific teal highlights and shadows, and you plan on painting them more than once, it can be useful to buy some small airtight paint saver containers so that you can mix a larger batch of the colors and not let them go to waste. This will also keep your colors looking uniform. Of course, if you happen to find the perfect match for colors that you use a lot, that's great too. I found some that match the skin tones and some of the blues that I use often, so in addition to titanium white, I can use those straight out of the tube. Yay! Life hack! As you paint your cell, be sure to sometimes flip it over and double check that you're painting within the lines, and make sure to do multiple coats where the paint is thin. After that, your cell is done and ready to display. If you're feeling extra, and I always am, you could also make a background for your cell. Traditionally, these were also painted, but I was lazy and I made mine digitally and printed it out in cardstock. The last optional step, if you really want to elevate your work, is to get yourself a nice mat and frame for your cell. This will protect it and make it really stand out as the work of art that it is. I don't know about you, but once I made one of these, I got kind of obsessed and I had to make more. I hope you find this tutorial useful and that you can have just as much fun as I did making these. See you next time.